take too much here because I've covered it fairly thoroughly in the past, but there are a few new works here and there, such as this nice complicated terminus for Route 9. The standard gauge cars are going to terminate in the background shortly, a few weeks' time. That's the party bargain, by the way, equivalent of the restaurant car. Standard gauge cars are going to terminate just around the corner there, and to get the levels right they had to raise the balloon loop for the number 4s. It's a bit like the Big Dipper. This one just behind the tree there. Another view at the same place showing this marvellous complication of track work. Works very nicely though. Still at Vogelsang Depot, this car's reversing in after a test trip. Tram stop Vogelsang. This depot will be closed next year. And that's the raised balloon loop in the background. Driver training on the new Route 9. And Gerhard just called out that this is a new one without folding steps. In other words, it can only operate where there's high platforms, which is nearly everywhere anyway where the standard gauge runs. Alright, on. I suppose I was a bit close. Back on my perch. Note it's not articulated. A modern version of Sydney's E-Class. Also up there is a scissors crossover on a curve. Next year for standard gauge they'll start digging a tunnel into the hill on the right there, and the track out in the street to my right will disappear. It's another number 4 arriving. I don't know if I've said it before, but the main reason for gauge conversion in Stuttgart is that the federal government believes in standard gauge for street tramways, and any system that decides to convert gets a good amount of financial assistance. Thus, by converting to standard gauge, the Stuttgart tramways get their new cars free. Yes, it does sound stupid. A great expenditure for a fairly poor reason, but that's what they've got. Yes, this is that marvellous Berliner Platz which is 3/4 of a Grand Union in a variety of gauges. Just about all of them were ramped, so they don't seem to be able to make up their mind. You certainly can't hear them bang through the intersection at all. This is what modern tramway called the tunnel with a view. This was under construction in 1986 tape. At the moment there's no point blade for meter gauge. Another one already. There should be one coming the other way now. And the trams have disappeared forever from the street below. And this is the view from the hilltop, more or less. Of the tunnel is just about ready. There's a temporary exit ramp just out of sight in the distance, but it nevertheless won't be used for another year. This end of the line's just about ready, but the other end of the through working still needs a lot to be done on it. Even the signals are ready and on. There has been something testing the track, but not very often. This is the rack line that was modernised a few years back, and then we're going to go uphill on it. That's a bicycle trailer. A few minutes walk from the rack terminus, and this is the next station in the underground. The rack's going to be extended a few hundred yards, but they've got to demolish a few houses to do it. That strip of light in the background is where this comes out. Rather simple station, and at this point is Gerhard ducking out of the picture, It's a simple underpass, probably one of the simplest underground stations I've seen. That's where I was just down there a moment ago. So the trams are dropping vertically about 40 feet, I suppose. I said to Gerhard, is there any rack track here yet? He said, oh no, only the track bed. And his eyes nearly popped out when he saw it. Ready? Click. Gotcha. Because there's the first bit of track in the ground, which is in the roof of the station. That two-storey building in the distance there, it and two others behind it will have to go. The street's just too narrow. The terminus is a few feet behind me. View in the opposite direction. They have a most unusual policy in Stuttgart of putting their old cars out on the siding near the depot, and looks like they leave it to the vandals to scrap them. All the windows are gone, and much of the rest is in disarray. I guess you could help yourself to whatever you want. Any minor body damage, but that's the finish. View of Meiringen, quite a busy little spot. Number 5 terminating on the left. Sorry, but this is only a temporary terminus for number 5 around this big barn, because next year it'll go standard gauge and terminate behind me. They haven't put the track connection in for that yet. There's another tram terminating the loop here. Plus the standard gauge in the distance on the right. Just going back down into the tunnel. Probably doesn't look it much, but there's quite a descent here. And this is a commencement of quite a long tunnel down to the lower level of the city. Today was the first day of an exhibition of Stuttgart during the Second World War. Unfortunately there's very little that would reproduce on video, but this is a rather nice photograph of Schlossplats with all the swastikas on display. The trams are now underground at this point. Another general street scene. Aerial view from the main station. Again, that's all underground now. Marvellous colour in these photographs. They are back illuminated. Obviously 1939 or earlier. Fortunately, this delightful little tram was blown up during the war. It was only about a year old at the time. Note the glass roof. This is the northern side of the city. You saw where the rack line was going to be extended yesterday. Well, this is a roofless underground station, I guess you could call it. It'll also open in about 12 months' time. 3 platforms, a middle one and 2 side ones, but only 2 tracks. Each line branches 2 ways. An old railroad shelter remains. They're too hard to knock down. This is the view, of course, in the opposite direction. All the traffic will be on the right side where the stone wall is. On the other side will be a sloping grass bank up into a...
Höhe.
On Duobus, Trolleybus, diesel bus, going up what was until 1976 a tram line at a place called Esslingen, which is just a little bit south of Stuttgart. The original trolleybus line was built in 1944 as tram replacement, and this was only electrified a year or two ago. The trolleybus wire does end up here a bit further and it carries on diesel. Oh yeah, there's the tram line over on the side there, just a piece of it. I did ride it in 1975, and one of the trams has recently been overhauled and returned to service on a little line in Bolzano or Oberbozen in northern Italy, which was visited in 1989. That one's just arrived heading towards the city. Up go the poles. I'll try and get closer later. Those of you with a good memory might remember a trolleybus doing a demonstration run around a balloon loop. He put his poles down, went around the loop and put them up again. The next one didn't, so it's presumably for my benefit. Unfortunately, there's a farmer spraying something on a crop of carrots or something here, so I've got to put up with the noise. No, those poles are coming down again. Something must be wrong. Perhaps he missed the wire. I'm with Jörg Zimmer, by the way, who's a usual host in Stuttgart, Nürtingen area. Well, he's just not going to bother. Next one coming up should be here any minute. I don't know if I said a minute ago the original routes are working entirely diesel today. Not sure why. Fairly snappy. This point where the wire ends is basically the top of the climb. There's another one coming down. We'll see if it tries. We'll see if this one bothers. We'll catch it anyway. Although the line up the hill's been electrified for a year or two, it was operating as an isolated system until a few months ago when the connection between the other line and this line was completed. Not a big connection, but a bit of track around the block. They do nevertheless seem half-hearted about using their Duobuses. Eric seems to think maybe they're just trying to save them. That's the one we came back on, showing special, so perhaps it's going back to the depot for a crew change.